compared to other technologies.
The economic turbulence over the last few years has actually increased the relevance of technology. This helps drive efficiencies, it helps drive revenue for these organizations, and ultimately helps them accelerate digital transformation. For example, today, more than 20% of global retail happens online versus only 9% 5 years ago. So we've seen a massive acceleration in the use of technology, in the use of modern channels, and organizations have to be where their customers are today. The critical element of what we need to change as technology providers is to simplify our message, simplify the technology so it's easy to understand, easy to consume by world leaders, by business executives. Ultimately, these executives need to make decisions in order to use technology, not just to features and functions in their business, but ultimately to drive business outcomes.
think the biggest opportunity Africa has is her youth population. Young, vibrant, energetic, sharp, smart, and able. And I think the big challenge we have is really to ensure that they do have the opportunity to contribute to the continent. I think part of the what we are doing that's absolutely critical is empowering African institutions, mandated institutions that are present on the continent, that have an understanding of local context, that have relationships with all key stakeholders to really advance the work that's happening on the continent. It's the same approach we take with the indigenous communities in Canada. It's really working with the mandated indigenous institutions to really drive the change. And this, we feel, is incredibly impactful. We want to continue to learn sharings from this approach to our work with the world, hoping that we can catalyze even further action. In terms of the pandemic and how we continued our work, we were agile and we sought to understand how the pandemic was affecting the communities that we work with and that we seek to serve. Our mission is very, very clear: 30 million young Africans in dignified work by 2030 and 30,000 young people from indigenous communities here in Canada.
In 3, 2, 1. That's not a countdown. It's literally the address of the Qatar Olympic and Sports Museum. I'm going to walk you through an architectural masterpiece which records the history of sports from times past, brings us into the modern era, and hints at what the future holds. The sports arena is elemental to the birth and the growth of civilizations. Archaeological finds from throughout the world show sport was very much part of the heritage of our ancestors. Whether competitive or used as tests of martial valor, or simply enjoyed for fun, the ancients engaged in sports activities that were often the glue that held societies together, or the toxin that tore them apart. Much like today, you may say. It was, predictably, in ancient Greece, that sports was instituted formally with the Olympic Games. Here in this room are gathered the flame holders of the torches from the more modern Olympic Games. Sport did and continues to shape every aspect of our society. It impacts politics, diplomacy, economics, physical and mental well-being, and our productivity. But sports is not only about passion, it's also about entertainment, and now it's big business. Come November, more than 1.5 million fans from around the globe are expected to descend on Doha and contribute an estimated $20 billion to its economy. That's when Qatar will be hosting the FIFA World Cup, the preeminent football, or soccer if you will, tournament. But just as important in these troubled times, it will mark an occasion when the world will come together to witness a primal spectacle that will connect us all with the roots of our civilization.
Please welcome to the stage Chatri Sidyodong, founder, chairman, and CEO of One Championship, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Haslinda Amin.
Thank you for being here, and we're talking sports. If you know Chatri, then you'd know that he swapped top-class finance on Wall Street for top-class fighting. And what a journey it's been, because if you know One, then you'd know that it is the biggest sports media company in Asia. And of course, he's got his sights even bigger than that. By 2029, correct me if I'm wrong, you're hoping to be the top player in the world. Chatri, good to see you.
Good to see you as always, Haslinda.
We first spoke to each other about 9 years ago. And every time we talk to each other, we talk about fire in the belly. We talk about the warrior mentality. And I think that's what's brought you here today. But more importantly than that, as you expand your sports empire, what's been key to your success?
I think, I know it's trite to say, but I do think that being at the right place at the right time, you know, I didn't know when I started One that smart mobile devices and social media would take over the world and truly unite the world in ways that the digital economy had never done before. That you could actually create a piece of content and globally you could get fans, you know, in a heartbeat. And that's what happened with One. But of course I had a simple thesis when I started One, and every region of the world has several multi-billion-dollar sports properties. So if you go to America, it's NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and the like. You go to Europe, it's F1 and Champions League and EPL. And these are all worth $50 to $100 billion. And yet Asia, with 4.2 billion people, had never had a sports property, ever, on a continental basis or global basis. So I was naive and said, hey, I'm going to start the first global property and see if I can scale it and make it equivalent to an NBA. I never thought it would be so hard, but at the same time, you know, 10 years later, here we are. I think Nielsen came out with an industry report on the biggest sports properties just a few months ago and ranked us number 5 in the world in terms of viewership engagement, 5th largest in the world. So that was very, very surprising to me. But yes, I have my eyes set on overtaking I know it may not be the right word, but overtaking soccer one day.
Well, good luck with that. That's quite a big ambition among all the big ambitions you have. You know, what's interesting, when you take a look at your strategy in particular, there's been a lot of tie-ups, right? I mean, just recently, you tied up with Amazon in a multi-year deal, and this morning you inked a deal as well. How crucial has that been in building that business?
We've been very lucky in that we have some of the smartest blue chip institutional investors that have been a part of One Journey and have always played instrumental roles. So whether it's Sequoia Capital helping us go digital and go global, whether it's Temasek and GIC, the sovereign wealth funds of Singapore, helping us map out our Asia strategy, and obviously Qatar Investment Authority, QIA, has been instrumental in really introducing us to all the right partners and having a very partnership mindset. So we've been very lucky that as we've grown our footprint around the world, we've found the right partners who want to build something legendary together, build the world's most valuable sports media property. And again, when we look at NFL, today NFL is the most valuable sports property in the world. It's valued at over $100 billion. I'm excluding Olympics and World Cup here. NFL is a single country sport. American football is only played and watched by Americans. 13 billion in revenue, and it's 100 billion. When we look at our property and say, look, we've scaled 154 countries, and we're only at the very beginning. We're top 5 in the world already. Everyone enjoys martial arts content and gaming content. Those are the two sports properties which we have, martial arts and gaming. And everybody in the world, whether it's Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, have seen it on movies. And there's several hundred million practitioners as well. So when you put all the numbers together, there isn't any reason why we should not be able to overtake NFL in the future. And I'm not talking about imminently or tomorrow, but if you'd asked me even 5 years ago, would we be top 5 in the world, I would never have guessed that. Our growth has been explosive, nothing short of exponential. And that is
Quantify that.
6 years ago, our average viewership per event was around 400,000. Last year, we averaged about 50 million per event. I'll give another example. 6 years ago, our entire year organic video views on social and digital was about 1 million. Last year, we crossed 13.8 billion organic video views. So this is just, you post a video and it just goes viral all over the world. And 13.8 billion organic video views puts us at number 2 in the world behind NBA, according to Nielsen, which is obviously the world's leading authority on viewership data for the media industry.
So with the latest fundraising, you're valued at $1 billion. You've always looked at being valued at $100 billion. I know that you said you don't want to give a number. How soon? Give a ballpark figure.
I think in the next few years, $5 billion is within reach. We're valued at $1.4 billion today. But our metrics are, again, I look at the reports, and every week they just continue to grow exponentially. And when we look at the whole world, and again, just Asia alone has 4.2 billion, but we're expanding in the region here. We're expanding in Europe. We're expanding North America in August. When you look at the entire world, there's nothing that will stop us. We just, again, we have a very simple formula. Our formula, actually, yes, our genre may be martial arts and gaming, but our formula is values, heroes, and stories. Values that every family can celebrate with their kids and grandkids. Values of integrity, humility, honor, respect, courage, discipline, compassion. Heroes. Heroes that entire countries can be inspired by. So when somebody puts a hero of one of our world champions, a child puts a poster in their bedroom, we want parents to be like, that's a great role model, not for that sport, but because this is a role model for life. And stories. We want to share the stories of these heroes overcoming adversity, tragedy, poverty, whatever it may be, to inspire the world. So it's values, heroes, and stories. And we feel that formula is infinitely scalable around the world. Actually, ironically, it's also the formula of Olympics or World Cup. We are passionate about these two gigantic sports properties because of that, because of the values, heroes, and stories.
Why would you gain traction in the US, for instance, where there are players like UFC? Huge. What's the strategy to compete with the likes of UFC?
Well, I think, in the world of martial arts, it's a global duopoly. UFC has a lion's share of the West. We have the lion's share of the Eastern Hemisphere. And it's just a question of, of course, we are in each other's territories. But the way I think about it is that we're totally different. I mean, I have a lot of respect for our competitor, UFC. At the same time, we're 180 degrees opposite in everything we do. Our DNA, our ethos, the fact that I'm a lifelong martial artist, been doing martial arts. I want to celebrate Asia's greatest cultural treasure through values, heroes, and stories that everyone can be inspired by. I named the company One. Our hashtag is We Are One because in a corny way, I want to unite humanity by showing the very best of humanity. I want to, when we wrote down the mission of our company at the very day one, on the business plan, it wasn't about revenues, it wasn't about fighting. We wrote down, we want to unleash real-life heroes who ignite the world with hope, strength, dreams, and inspiration through values, heroes, and stories. And that story, that DNA, that ethos, that is who we are from day one, 10 years ago till today. And I think that's why we've been able to scale all over the world. I think people want to be inspired. People want to hear stories that of other people living their greatest life so that you can be inspired, whatever walk of life, whatever tragedy or poverty or adversity, whatever situation you're in. If you hear someone's story of adversity and poverty and tragedy and the overcoming of it, the overcoming of suffering, that's a universal story.
Lots of rumblings on the ground that could possibly be a fight between you and Dana White, your counterpart at UFC. Are we about to see a fight?
Fans have asked that, and I'm a lifelong martial artist. I've said I would accept it.
So you're game?
I'm game, but I think fans ask in jest because again, it's a global duopoly, and so the number one question I get is, will we ever do our world champions versus UFC world champions? And we would do it in a heartbeat. Obviously, our global footprint is actually bigger than the UFC already in terms of viewership numbers, according to Nielsen. But we would definitely put our roster up against our roster, and if the main event had to be me, then I would do it too. Anything to push the mission.
Speaking of fighting, what's been the biggest fight of your life when it comes to keeping the business alive? It's been a difficult 2 years for all businesses, including the business of sports.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of what you had to go through to be here today.
In March of 2020, when the Singapore government, and actually all governments around the world, closed borders and went into lockdown, I went into a funk. I shut my bedroom door and I was kind of depressed. I was like, man, I built this thing for how many years? My team and I have toiled, blood, sweat, and tears, and now we have potential of no events, and I don't know if it's 3 months or 12 months, it's 24 months. I didn't know if the company would be able to survive it. And I was, feeling sorry for myself about 2 days. Then I woke up the next day and I held a company meeting. I said, we always say we're the greatest team in sports. And I said, this is the worst global economic crisis in 100 years. There's zero visibility. We can sit here and let the circumstance dictate the outcome. Or we can rise above and we can show the world and show each other that we are truly great. And so let us take this epic, epic crisis as a proof point for how great we are as a team, how great we are as people. And this is unbelievable, but we are only operating 8 months of that year. Our viewership numbers were up 300% over the prior year, despite only operating partial year. The following year, our viewership numbers were again up triple digits. We hit record high revenues in all the years. And so for me, it's in Chinese, the character for crisis is the same as opportunity. And I think that is what it is. It's how you see a crisis. And I told my team, we're going to do it through resilience, and we're going to do it through creativity. There's going to be resilience in terms of we get rejected and a million problems and failures that we've never seen before, but you got to get ready for the fight. And I said, creative. You have to be very creative. We're going to have new problems. You have to figure out new solutions. And I owe it all to my team. I'm blessed to serve the greatest team on the planet in one. And that's how we hit all record high metrics in the pandemic. And I don't think we would have been able to do so again with that kind of resilience and creativity.
So what's been the key takeaway for you and your team as you navigate the next 10 years to a $100 billion valuation?
I think, as Charles Darwin said it best, it's not the strongest or the smartest that survive. It's the species that adapts to change the most efficiently. So the world is changing as we see it. Millennials and Gen Z, when they wake up in the morning, They don't watch TV. They look up and they pick up their phone and they look at TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. At night before they go to bed, they do the same thing. If a brand doesn't know how to dominate social media and digital media, you'll be left behind. And a lot of incumbent sports properties are in this situation. What do I mean by that? You can't see the golf ball, the tennis ball, the ping pong ball, the basketball, or any kind of ball on your mobile phone. It's very difficult to follow sport. You happen to be lucky. I mean, we're very lucky. You can see a flying kick and you can see gaming. So it's perfect for the mobile device, but you have to have a digital-first mobile mindset. But I know there's going to be something next around the corner, like metaverse. So our company, we're ready. My team is ready for the metaverse already as a sports property. So there's always frontiers, and I would say, learn, grow, and adapt as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and that's always been the ethos of One anyways.
So what would be, as you look into the crystal ball, what would be the biggest trends in sports? I mean, we've been talking a lot about esports, for instance. Where would that be going?
Well, just in Asia alone, there's 1.7 billion gamers. Gaming, if you look at the Millennial and Gen Z audience today, the population rather, it is the biggest hobby. There's no question. Mobile games, PC-based games. But then at the same time, you look at martial arts and you look at the content stack globally. We have now 3 content stacks with this: martial arts, gaming, and general entertainment. And I think we're in the right place to continue igniting the Millennial and Gen Z audience, which comprises 80% of our fan base is Millennial and Gen Z. Probably the youngest sports property with regard to that.
With a minute to go, we have to touch on The Apprentice. We know that season 2 is coming. How does The Apprentice fit into One strategy?
Well, our Apprentice, is a different version, it's a complete revamped. We co-own it with MGM. And what we do is we invite 16 candidates from the business world, and we put them through a series of challenges. Of course, the business tests, but we also have physical challenges. So like in season 1, we had candidates jump off a 110-foot bridge and have to climb back up, and they were submerged upside down in a helicopter underwater. We did a lot of crazy things to test their warrior spirit, to test, just like our world champions in martial arts or gaming, you have to have resilience and grit. You have to have that world championship mindset. And that's what we bring.
But why The Apprentice? Is that a way of winning another market?
Yes.
Winning...
Well, it's all synced up in the sense that, and that's why we're partnering with Media City here today, the Qatar government, on all 3 content stacks. What we're launching with The Apprentice is because it introduces a whole new fan base to our brand. But again, it's all about inspiring the world through our values, heroes, and stories. If you pick apart The Apprentice on Netflix today, you can all go to it. You'll see it's about values, heroes, and stories. And that's how we ignite the world.
And that's it. Just like that, we're out of time. And by the way, Chatri got hit while training yesterday. He's just had stitches done on his lips. Talk about belly in the fire. He's here today to share his story. Thank you very much, Chatri.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. This is a real intense battle raging here. He's so good. It's time to race in MotoGP. Wow, such a pleasure, such a privilege. What an honour to be part of this championship.
Please welcome to the stage Carmelo Ezpeleta, CEO of Dorna Sports, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Jennifer Zabasaja.
Carmelo, that was a pretty great video.
Yes, it shows exactly how is MotoGP.
Yeah, and there were a lot of numbers on there. We were just talking about a big number for you and the sport. 30. This year is 30 years.
Yes, we started in 91, and the first championship was in the 1992 in Japan, in Suzuka.
Do you think the sport is better today than it was 10 years ago?
Sorry?
Is the sport better today than it was 10 years
Yes, I think so. I think so. We try to do it. We improve a lot, especially we try to improve the safety. When we started in the championship, one of the things more important was, obviously motorsport is dangerous, but we try to avoid that. We have a very close relation with the riders. We met with them every single week to try to improve that. Then that gives to us a possibility to improve. And we changed a lot from the organization point of view. In the first race in Suzuka, we were 8 people, and now we are more than 500. Then really changed a lot, the things from that moment.
What are you hearing from the riders about what they need change in order to feel safer?
Well, in principle, the bikes have been changed a lot since 1991 to now. And obviously, the riders are every time fastest. The bikes are fastest. Then the circuit needs to be very, very, very safe. Then when we talk with them, it's any kind of possibility we have, any proposal to make a new circuit or to improve the existing circuit is discussed with them during a meeting we have every Friday before the circuit, and with the majority of the riders of MotoGP, and then we can share with them the best possibilities to be even more safe.
And if people haven't seen, there's 2 of the bikes right outside there. We were looking at them, but you were telling me something really fascinating about distinguishing the 2 of them, and specifically about sustainability, because one of them is a Moto e-bike.
Well, yes, we are working in the sustainability. It's one of the most important issues we have right now. Then we have 2 ways to improve the sustainability and to go to the zero impact in carbon brake. One is to work with all the manufacturers and with all the oil manufacturers to make fuel more sustainable. We will go to 24 with sustainable fuel, and then we will try to, through that, what we are doing is to try to experiment and to show in front of the world that these bikes are very sustainable. We use 21 liters to make a long distance race with a lot of performance. And if we are successful, and we will be successful to working with the manufacturers and the fuel manufacturers, this is something we can pass to the majority of the people who is using 2 wheels bike, who is the most sustainable transport for many people. Then for us it's a challenge to try to have for the Southern Asia, for South America, for many reasons, to have a sustainable fuel to permit to continue using this bike with 0 impact in carbon brake. And at the same time, we are working hard with a 100% electric bike to be also second experience. And we are working in both sides, one in the fuel to be 100% sustainable, and in the electric bike.
So you don't plan to go fully electric then with MotoGP? Yes.
Yes, well, I have been since 1991 in all the races, and I think it's very important to have the temperature every time to know exactly what is necessary. We work very hard together with the manufacturer and the circuit promoters. We know that every time needs to improve to give to the fans and the people, the spectators, as much fun we can, and looking to change the way. The races are always the same, but then the evolution of the entertainment is very important, and we try to do that with our promoters. We have 21 promoters and many others waiting to be promoting also a race. Then we have a maximum of 22 races per season right now, and then we are working with different states and nations to have a race in a safe circuit. And in the other side, we are working very hard with the manufacturers to try to improve the bikes under the line of sustainability and also the economical impact in the cities and in the places we are.
What is next in terms of cities? I mean, you mentioned cities. Where are you looking to expand the sport and grow the sport more?
Clearly in South America and in Southern Asia. We have not any race circuit in Africa, but in the future this is a possibility. We cannot. One of the things is we cannot race for safety reasons. We cannot race in not permanent circuits. That means we cannot use street circuits because the safety measures is difficult to have. Requirement we have from our safety commission. But clearly our goal is South America and Southern Asia.
So any particular cities or countries you're looking at?
Well, it's until we don't have the contract, we don't say, but there's countries as Brazil or India or are interested, and we are talking with them.
So let's talk about the growth potential, and specifically, I have to ask you about Formula One because that is something that has grown exponentially in the U.S. and globally. You used to work in Formula One. Do you see that sport as a competitor? Is it friendly competition, or where does MotoGP position itself in comparison?
Well, we think we are complementary. That means I know very well Formula One. I have been also director of a circuit who promote Formula One. I was in close contact, and in fact, he was with us in the beginning of our business with Bernie, and we work close in many things. There are many differences. In principle, I think we are more spectacular, but they are the incredible power of the car manufacturers, which is not comparison with the bike manufacturers. Then we are working together. In principle, the main issue we have together is the calendar. You know, we are 21 races, they have 23, and we are both starting in March and finishing in November. Then to collaborate in the creation, because many of the broadcasts are the same, then we are working in that. But in general, the relationship has been fantastic with Bernie, and also right now with Stefano Domenicali. It's our friend since many years ago.
So you don't see it as a threat?
We work very close with them.
So it's not considered a threat to the growth of MotoGP?
Well, we think it's, we are complementary. Then Formula One has many things who could be important for us, and we have some of them who are important for them. But in principle, I repeat, we have been living all these 30 years together, working together. Sometimes it's up and down. We are better, then they are better. But clearly, the Formula One is the first motorsport in the world, and we are very proud to be the second.
Very proud. Well, and just, piggybacking off of that, Formula One had Drive to Survive on Netflix, and then MotoGP did MotoGP Unlimited on Amazon. Was that because you saw the success of Drive to Survive, and what impact did that have on the sport?
Well, clearly, Drive to Survive has been a big impact in some markets. We are starting with our series, and the moment we don't know yet exactly what is the result. We are working in that, but clearly this is one thing we do now, and we will try to do in the future also.
On streaming?
Yes.
What about on social media? How much of an impact does that have?
Well, social media has been very, very. We start early than practically not any motorsport in the world. We start very early. We have 40 million followers, and we think this is bringing to us the possibility to know exactly what the fans and the people needs. We are very close connection with them. We are slowly thinking but we are leading in many of the areas of the social media, and never is enough, but we will try to continue. This is one of the sources we are working hard to improve.
And as you introduce more electric bikes, how does that affect the show for the people who are watching, as you just mentioned? Is it still just as exciting of a show, you think, as it was prior? I mean, how are things going to change? Well,
from the beginning, we say Dorna is a company who made races. and show the races in the best way we can to arrive to almost 450 million homes. Then when we decided, because it's the way and we think it's very important to create an electric series, we do it in the way to make real races. Then this is what we do. Today, due to the weight of the battery and the duration of that, we are making races around 8 to 10 laps in different the other races. But this is an experience which has been during the last 4 years with one manufacturer, Nexica. Next year we will start with Ducati, and always in the try to improve the things for the future. Our sports has been always very connection with the industry. That means everything we do, we hope to will be used in the future in the motorcycle industry. Then it's for that we are working together with the industry, trying to have the best things we can.
And on the issue of the manufacturers, recently Suzuki decided to leave the sport at the end of the season. Did that frustrate you? Did you figure out what it was that they were taking issue with?
Well, since we start in the championship, always all the sporting, but especially technical changes has been made in agreement with all the manufacturers. That means it's very important. Not always all the manufacturers have the same idea, and then it's our duty to try to balance the different situations and arrive to a situation where all the technical specifications are good for everybody. Then this has been our duty. We change the rules every 5 years. That means, for example, we are in an area now from 22 to 26, and normally the technical rules, unless for safety issues, we will not change in the middle of the period. But right now we are already starting to propose things to the manufacturers to see how will be the regulation in 27.
Do you plan to bring in another manufacturer in Suzuki's place?
If it's a real, we are okay with the number of bikes we have. In fact, we have 24 this year. Next year will be 22. Our ideal number is 20. Why? Because we have a limited time of broadcasting television, is 45 minutes. We need to show everybody. But if a manufacturer comes, a real manufacturer of bike who want to invest in the championship and to improve and help to development of the technical issues, of course we will.
You would be open to that. Are you concerned that any of the 5 that are still there could potentially raise issues with some of the changes that you just brought up and potentially walk away as well?
Well, we are okay in this moment for that. We think they are happy with the situation, and at the moment, recently Suzuki announced they will not continue next year. We were discussing with them because we have a contract for 5 years with them, but everybody, if they cannot continue, we can accept. But now we receive a lot of demands of other manufacturers, and we are studying how is the program for the new manufacturer, if we cover or not. For sure not next year. Next year we will have five manufacturers and 6 independent teams.
What is your hope for the next season? Because I know now you're on summer break. What's your hope for the sport just going into the fall, into the next season, and its growth potential?
Well, in principle, always our main issue is to be safe. That means to all the improvements we make in the circuits or whatever, to try to continue with the safety of the issues, and second, to try to increase the popularity of MotoGP. One matter also is important to us is to have riders from many nationalities. And for that we have a program called Talent Promotion, which is improving especially in Asia, young talents. And we have this program in Asia, in Europe, all around the world, and if we reach any young people who is able to be okay, we try to help him to arrive to the first to the Junior World Championship and then to the MotoGP.
And you were mentioning there's satellite teams, so there's big team, and there's a lot of momentum within the team to continue to grow as well, right?
Yes. With the team, the relation is very good. We make an agreement with them 4 years ago try to be more economical, sustainable for them. That means that we are right now, the promoter, Dorna, is the biggest sponsor of all the independent teams. That means we make an agreement with the manufacturers also to provide the bikes in a achievable price. Then the relationship with the teams is crucial for us.
Yeah, and it's the cost to transport the bikes too, right? It's all, there's a lot of sustainability pain points, right, within the sport that have to be addressed.
Well, the thing is to have the temperature of everything we do. That means if we are living, if we have 21 races during the year, it's 21 weekends we are together talking about the different things. And we think we have the temperature of the teams, the championship, the riders, everything could happen. We are able to discuss between us.
You're aware. And when you talk about championship, what's your prediction? One of those are championship bikes out there, correct? The bike that's outside?
Yeah.
What's your prediction? Who's the rider to watch?
I never make any predictions. You know, all the riders are very, very close with us, and especially with me. Then I think it's me as CEO of Dorna is predicting something is okay. I wish all the best to all of them, and to have a lot of competition. The good thing is right now with the technical issues, we have practically all the manufacturers winning races during this year, and I hope 2 years ago we made 9 different winners in the championship. I hope this year we can arrive to 9 or even more.
Well, and you were saying it's very much a mental sport, right? It comes down to sort of the mind of these riders.
Yes, all the individual sports are many mental, you know, but motorsport especially is something very, very complicated. You know, this is because you are winning a race for until the last lap for 20 seconds, and then you failed and you score 0 points, and the second is 25. Then the mentality, the way you are strong in front of the rest of the people is very important, and it's for that there are people who are winning, and then when they have received the pressure, they are start to win less or whatever. Mentality is something very, very important in all the individual sport, but especially in motorsport more.
Do you think the pressure is on these athletes and these riders today to be out front the way that, I mean, a lot of athletes are these days? Do you see that same trend in MotoGP?
Yes. Then, you know, one thing is MotoGP, we live together during the weekend. Then it's not many sports that you are living with your competitors during Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then these people are watching the other competitors, and they see exactly what is the mentality. They know each other. Then this is make MotoGP also special. You know, it's in other competition you are not living with the competitors. In this competition, you are not meeting during the race. You are all the weekend there. They go to make a gym or the recovery or to the physio or whatever. Then this is make also MotoGP very special.
So there's a unifying factor, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So let's just talk about sort of the next big announcement for MotoGP. You mentioned the sustainability, the Moto e-bikes. What is the next big announcement that you and your team are working on in terms of the riders and the races?
We are working especially in the sustainability. Yeah. And that means we are working very hard. We announced right now the 24 we will go to sustainable fuel. But also we are working through the calendar to make it more sustainable, the ways that making the calendar, making less trips and making the trips more sustainable. Also, we are working very hard we have more than 150 trucks in Europe moving. Then if we obtain this sustainability for the trucks will be very, very important, but also the way we organize together with the promoter every single event can collaborate to have a world more sustainable.
And you have a track here in Qatar as well.
Yeah.
And you'll be back here.
Yes, Qatar has been we were the first World Championship who came to Qatar. Qatar was the first lighting race in the championship. Next year Qatar will be not opening the championship because they need to have a lot of work in the circuit. And then just for 1 year, we postponed the first race to the end of the season. But Qatar is a key issue in the championship. We has been many historical things has been here in Losail circuit in Qatar.
Right. We had a question from the audience. It was about Qatar, but also it was about your socks, Carmelo. People were curious, are those bikes on your socks there?
This is bikes, yeah.
Those are bikes. You carry them with you always.
Yeah, exactly.
Carmelo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks to you. Thank you.
I didn't even see your socks.
In 3, 2, 1. That's not a countdown. It's literally the address of the Qatar Olympic and Sports Museum. I'm going to walk you through an architectural masterpiece which records the history of sports from times past, brings us into the modern era, and hints at what the future holds. The sports arena is elemental to the birth and the growth of civilizations. Archaeological finds from throughout the world show sport was very much part of the heritage of our ancestors. Whether competitive or used as tests of martial valor, or simply enjoyed for fun, the ancients engaged in sports activities that were often the glue that held societies together, or the toxin that tore them apart. Much like today, you may say. It was, predictably, in ancient Greece, that sports was instituted formally with the Olympic Games. Here in this room are gathered the flame holders of the torches from the more modern Olympic Games. Sport did and continues to shape every aspect of our society. It impacts politics, diplomacy, economics, physical and mental well-being, and our productivity. But sports is not only about passion, it's also about entertainment, and now it's big business. Come November, more than 1.5 million fans from around the globe are expected to descend on Doha and contribute an estimated $20 billion to its economy. That's when Qatar will be hosting the FIFA World Cup, the preeminent football, or soccer if you will, tournament. But just as important in these troubled times, it will mark an occasion when the world will come together to witness a primal spectacle that will connect us all with the roots of our civilization.
Please welcome to the stage Her Excellency Sheikha Al Mayassa bint Hamad bin Khalifa Al-Thani, Chairperson, Qatar Museums, Doha Film Institute, Reach Out to Asia, and Qatar Leadership Center, for a conversation with Qatar Economic Forum host Zain Verji.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Let's get straight into it. The World Cup. It's probably the most converging event globally, probably even more so than the Olympics. How has this translated in the kind of experience that you're designing and curating for later this year?
So the World Cup is obviously a very exciting moment for Qatar and the Arab world. Qatar bid for the World Cup to bring it to the Arab world. We initiated a Years of Culture program when we first won the World Cup in 2010, and this year it's the Year of Minasa to celebrate the diversity of cultures in the Arab world and to really focus on culture to make it as important as a sports event itself. So the beauty about Qatar, it's a compact country, and people who can attend the games and go to the stadiums can actually visit all of our exhibitions. So we're very excited. There are very interesting exhibitions about the Arab world that we're showing for the very first time. And I'd love to share that with the audience whenever it's appropriate.
Well, give us some of the highlights. Which ones excite you the most? I know there are a lot. So what would you say was extra special to your heart?
It's like asking who's your favorite child. Actually, they're all equally exciting and important because it showcases different cultures from different parts of the world. We're installing 80 new public artworks. I'm sure all of you came through Hamad International Airport and seen the Earthfisher yellow bear that's become so iconic to Qatar itself. We have an amazing exhibition in partnership with the Baghdad Museum as well as other museums in Europe and the US. It's talking about the 500 years of the Abbasid Empire when Baghdad was the capital of the Islamic world. We have the reopening of the Islamic Art Museum with works that have never been seen before. We have an exhibition on our future museum, Lusail Museum, that talks about Orientalist paintings and design with objects that only Qatar has, talking about the region and the world. We are introducing our future modern and contemporary art museum with Art Mill, our current flour mill. We're doing an exhibition on Al Jazeera, 25 years of Al Jazeera, which is super exciting for us as it's really put Qatar on the map 25 years ago, as well as an exhibition with the Palestinian Museum, Labor of Love, talking about textiles at the Qatar Culture Village. We have our sports museum, which you've all seen the video with Zain visiting as one of our first visitors when we opened in the spring of this year. We're having an exhibition of the world of football opening at the Sports Museum that talks about Arab football players who've represented other nations around the world. We also have a few exciting exhibitions at Madhaf, the Artists in Residence exhibition of artists who've gone through the fire station program, as well as an exhibition by Sophia Al-Marri and a Lebanese artist. And what else do we have? I think that's
that's really tremendous.
Oh, I forgot. Actually, we have the Valentino exhibition that we're doing for the very first time, which I think the audience, I see a lot of women in the room. You love that show.
Well, it goes without saying that you really are front and center in building experiences and creative and cultural ecosystems in Qatar, in the region, and it has a powerful impact throughout the rest of the world. Just give us a sense of how you've cultivated some of your core principles and your own personal goals around the World Cup, but in the creative space in general.
So Qatar has a National Vision 2030, and we've created a 25-year plan that fits perfectly in that vision of developing the human capacities that we have in Qatar, but also in the region. So it's a really exciting moment because it's, you'll see these exhibitions and you'll assume that they've been planned last month, but it has been a 10-year in the planning and the making of how do we introduce the world to Qatar in a very authentic way. People do not want to go to countries and see the same thing everywhere they go. They want to visit unique experiences, and that's exactly how we've offered it during the World Cup. The exhibitions actually will open before the World Cup and continue on until the end of March, beginning of April. So those who didn't come to Qatar during the World Cup still have the chance to visit these exhibitions and learn about the Arab world, its diversity, and so forth. So I was just in Athens for another conference, and it was very interesting to hear what they're doing because it's very much similar to how we're perceiving culture and authenticity. One of the things that people will also be experiencing this year is activation of heritage sites. One particular project that I'm very excited about is Ain Muhammad, because the people who are activating that village are actually descendants of the original families and tribes who lived there many centuries ago. And just across from there, we'll have a new installation in the desert. I'm going to announce it to the audience. It's Oliver Ellison, his first major installation here. And that will then follow with an exhibition of Oliver Ellison in Doha next March at the National Museum.
You talked about authenticity. How do you personally use the notion of authenticity to drive some of the work that you do? What is it that you think about when you come into the office every day and looking at all the exhibitions that you have in front of you? We want to have a personal sense of how you see it.
Yes, that's a very good question. The people, we look at the people that are living here, the representations that we have, and we really engage with our creatives that are living here, whether they're filmmakers, artists, craftsmen, filmmakers, and that's how the story unfolds. We depend very much on the organic growth of our culture and society. And I can give you the National Museum as an example. People have only complimented the National Museum since we've opened, but previous to that, we always got negative press for the delay of the opening of the National Museum. But the reality is we wanted to create something authentic, and the only way to do that was to engage all the stakeholders in the community. So we ran multiple workshops on different themes and different topics, and we got all the information collected. And you only see actually part of that. The rest of it is in our digital database that we make accessible for researchers and curators to create new narratives and exhibitions moving forward. The National Museum, actually, that's one of the exhibitions I forgot to mention, currently has an exhibition on our future car museum, as well as a Pipolotti wrist installation. And for the World Cup, we're opening an exhibition on nomadic tents, because we're very proud of our past, and it connects the region of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And that's going to be a highlight of our program.
One of the things that you've been working on is how to integrate technology into your work and making it really synonymous and working almost like a symphony with the creative and cultural space. What are the most important results that you've embraced from the collision of technology with art and authentic spaces?
Well, the National Museum is a really good example of that. When we had the building, we realized the walls were very complicated. There were no straight walls inside the museum. So we combined technology with the artifacts and the storytelling, using the walls to project films, but also understanding how the visitor can pass through and not be disturbed by the films that will continue on in the galleries. The Sports Museum is also a good example. We've actually borrowed many objects from around the world for the museum, whether it's from the US or Europe or other parts of Asia. And we use technology to connect with the audiences and engage with them. The future Children's Museum will also have technology. We've also partnered, Ooredoo is a major partner. We're very grateful for all of the work that they've done with us. They've been a strategic partner. At the Jeff Koons, we had a collaboration with Ooredoo and Snapchat, where you could have a Jeff Koons in your living room. And we're looking at other collaborations at the moment with the upcoming exhibitions that we're doing. Many people have come to us for the metaverse and the NFTs, and obviously these are conversations that we're continuing to have.
One of the things I think, Your Excellency, that's important to highlight and also speak to is the fact that all of these exhibitions and all of the efforts that you're making in the creative and cultural industries are really important drivers and have enormous potential for economic growth. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, so in everything that we do in all of our projects, we really try to incorporate the creative economy as elements of our initiatives. M7 is an incubation between Qatar Development Bank and the Qatar Museums to support entrepreneurs. Last week, a private sector company called From took 2 Qatari designers and produced furniture, and now they'll have a permanent showroom in Milan. Last week we launched the World Cup poster. It's a Qatari designer who's have done significantly well with her art. Now she's represented in collections around the world and major museums. In our National Museum we have a Desert Rose Cafe. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. It is authentic Qatari food, a chef that's multi-talented, and she was trained under Alain Ducasse for how to present the meals and package the dishes in a I don't know how to describe it, but in a different way. So those are examples that I can think of, but also public art. Like 2 weeks ago, Sheikha Al Mayassa installed a new installation of the Arabic igal that all the men here are wearing. It's a black piece. And she was an artist that we discovered on Instagram, during the blockade. And she was a very patriotic artist, and she created amazing paintings. And so for the very first time, her paintings are now translated in sculpture. And we have here Dr. Abdullah, who's who's a big supporter of the museums, but also a gallerist, and he's supported and incubated many of the artists in residence in his galleries. We have other dealers today, Al-Hosh Gallery being another active gallerist in Qatar, supporting a lot of the young designers, but also innovating. You know, at the Doha Jewelry exhibition last month, we had so many jewelry designers, but collaborating with artists. And I saw a lot of people buy their things. And so, you know, it is growing gradually, but in every industry. If you want film, if you want fashion, we have the platform to support them and the museums and the collections to inspire them. So Qatar becomes a very attractive hub.
What's your biggest challenge?
I have so many. My biggest challenge. Sorry. So I think our biggest challenge was, I don't think it's as big of a challenge today as it was, but for people to understand and realize that culture is not a hobbyist job. You know, a lot of the artists that we initially supported had to have a full-time job to support themselves. Today that has changed. A lot of these artists, by becoming successful, whether it's in film, fashion, design, have been able to stand on their own feet thanks to the support of all of the different partners that are here. So I think that was a challenge initially, because culture or museums in the past was looked at as a form of entertainment, when in actual fact it's a key component for knowledge-based economy. Teachers, we've been training teachers on how to use the museum to teach the various subjects that they're required to teach in schools. And to align the skills that children need today for their future professions. So that was a challenge initially, but to be honest, whenever we explain what we're doing and how we're doing it, the reception we've been getting has been very, very positive.
I'd like to draw your attention to focus a little more in the African space, which I know that you're quite active. The African creative and cultural space is becoming more relevant and is much more of an important contribution to the global conversation today. But Africa and African talent still lag in access, in support, in funding, and even in mind share. What are your thoughts of possible activities that could occur to be able to support the African creative and cultural industries?
So we've been working with African designers and artists. We did an amazing exhibition at Methaf 2 years ago of Elena Tsui. And last year we had a Virgil Abloh show, an artist from Ghana who designed for Off-White and LV Men. Unfortunately, after his show, he passed away. And in the fall of this year, we have a big gala dinner with Naomi Campbell, Fashion for Relief, and it will be supporting the creative economy in Africa. Now, I know very little about Africa, but I'm learning because it's such a vast continent with so much talent in every industry that you can imagine, whether it's fashion, technology, digital art, the NFTs, you know, it's growing very quickly, and we're hoping to work closely with these artists and to take our own successful experiences or know-hows to Africa through partnerships, because nothing like this works unless you have local partners. So I'm looking for you to guide me on where to look in Africa, but I think October will be an exciting moment with the Fashion for Relief, because I know Naomi's curating a whole event with music, fashion, photography, design, objects to showcase the African continent.
Coming back with the few minutes that we have left in this conversation to the World Cup, what is it that you hope people take in? What is it that you hope to export to the world in terms of what Qatar is, what Qatar represents, and what art and creativity is, and how it unifies us?
Well, I think we're trying to show the diversity of the Arab world, but also we want people to experience Qatar as it really is. You know, there's been such a negative press about Qatar, which is fairly inaccurate, of people who've actually never been to Qatar. His Highness gave an amazing talk at Davos most recently, specifically stating that many people have judged us without getting to know us. And the World Cup is a great opportunity to celebrate people and celebrate our differences and bring people together to have conversations. Even if these conversations are difficult, even if these conversations we may disagree in, or disagree on, it's really important that we use culture as a vehicle to bring people together and to find common interests. And so I'm really hopeful and excited that the world will be coming to Qatar for the World Cup, but also learning something about our culture that perhaps they didn't know or didn't understand before that.
And finally, would you like to leave us with something that we can take away, a most important thought or a final thought that we can consider as we conclude the interview and almost at the close of the forum?
So I think, as you see or experience the various programs that we'll be offering in the fall, we also have a movement festival and a fashion and music show between the semifinals and the finals, is to just keep an open mind and come to us with your ideas or come to us with your proposals, whether we can do them or not is a different discussion, but we're very open. I've had so many different people, unexpected people, come through with ideas that at first we thought could never materialize, but then they've been the best initiative that we've taken forward. So the message is we're open to the world, and we want the world to be embracing and respectful to our cultures and understand the roots of tradition and why we do certain things the way we do. And we're open for a conversation.
Your Excellency, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone. We head now to the world's largest sporting spectacle, as we've been talking about, the FIFA World Cup finals to be held here in Qatar in November this year. It is the first time that this major event is taking place in the Middle East, marking a major development for Qatar. Let us take you on the road now to the greatest show on earth.
Cuando entro a la cancha me siento libre, como si nunca había estado.
El fútbol te está dando de comer, te está dando para vivir, es algo importante.
Football for me is the way forward.
Football for me is my life.
Football will conquer the entire world.
Here is the planet's ultimate game, the final of the 21st Football World Cup.
Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Hassan Al-Thawadi, Secretary General at Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy for the State of Qatar, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Simone Foxman.
Hassan, thanks for joining us. It's lovely to see you, to talk to you again. Feels like every time we talk, we're so much, just a little bit closer to the World Cup. And so it's interesting to see how much has been done in that time. So for those of you who don't know from the long title, Hassan is the World Cup guy, essentially.
One of the guys, yes, but it seems like I'm the spearheaded one.
Well, so here's the question that I've been asked a bunch of times by folks over the past couple of days who maybe this is their first time in Doha. They say the stadiums are built, the metro is operational, there's this regional air shuttle system plan that's going to go into effect, that's cool. The roads, meh. But also, what is not done? What's keeping you up at night? I don't know if it's the roads, so tell me what it is.
Well, to start off with, let me apologize first for my voice. As you can see, that keeps me up awake, at night sometimes. What keeps me up at night? I mean, look, for the last 12 years, it's been different things, right? Starting out from a global pandemic to a lot of other things. But the fact is, as you said, we're more or less there in terms of infrastructure. Yes, the roads, if you look at the insides of of some of the streets, I think there's a bit of an upgrading system that's occurring that was always part of the plan. But the major infrastructure has already been completed. And I think we're now in operational phase. So in the operational phase, obviously, there's a lot of different elements. One of them, of course, is accommodation, ensuring that the itinerary relevant for the accommodation is in play ahead of time, and trying to manage as much as possible or avoid price gouging. I mean, obviously, market forces always mean that as long as there's a lot of demand, prices skyrocket, and we've seen it in many previous tournaments. We're trying to create an environment where the business community benefits, but at the same time, it is affordable and accessible for the fans as well. So to try to create that environment, that balance, sometimes is tricky.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I want to ask you about accommodation.
Go ahead.
I was on the website last night. I was looking at kind of all the alternatives out there. There are some very, very pricey ones, over $1,000, multiple $1,000s a night. Then there are some that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, I think there is a concern from fans who are looking to come here that their accommodation is either going to be extremely expensive or there's not going to even be enough for them. Are you seeing an impact on demand and purchasing tickets from some of these concerns that fans are having?
What do you mean by that?
Are you seeing them, sign up for tickets, not go and pay for tickets because they're concerned they can't find a hotel room or it's too expensive?
Not at all. I mean, in terms of demand, to start off with, I think it's record-breaking demand. I think the last phase we had about 27 million requests for about 2 million tickets available. I think about 1.2 million tickets have already been purchased.
Okay.
So people are actually buying and people are excited to come. There's no doubts about that. In terms of availability, we've tried to ensure that we provide different offerings on different categories. So from the affordable, which ranges about from $80 to $100 a night, all the way to, as you said, a bit more of the pricier ones, whether we're looking in terms of 5-star hotels, or even some of the luxury offerings in terms of cruise ships. So we're trying to create a wide range that caters for everybody. Of course, again, more and more hotels are coming into the pipeline, and this takes time, of course, for fans to get more accommodated with the platform, because our offering is slightly unique as well. What we try to do is, to a certain extent, not within what's available in the country, but what's available on the platform, centralize a bit of what's available on the market. And again, that was at an attempt of not regulating prices, but managing prices in there. And again, because as we've always said, we've always committed to this being an accessible, affordable tournament.
Yeah.
And so it's as I said, I mean, that there's, I won't say it's a challenge, but it's definitely something that we're working on very hard to ensure that this is an environment for everybody from every walk of life to be able to come and enjoy it.
I mentioned the regional shuttle system earlier, and the idea is essentially that someone could fly in from Dubai, Muscat, Kuwait City, various cities in Saudi Arabia, and then come for the day and then leave. How much are you actually encouraging this to happen?
If you go back to 2009, 2010, we've always said one thing. This is an Arab, Middle Eastern tournament held in Qatar. So for us, we've always encouraged the fact that for a lot of these fans, this would be their first opportunity to ever come to the Middle East and the Arab world. So for them to be able to travel, visit different parts of the country, different parts of the region, experience Arabic hospitality, experience our culture, experience our sense of humor, our welcoming nature, it's as much for the region as it is for Qatar. So there's no doubts, of course, people will be here to follow the tournaments, but whenever they get the chance as well to visit the region, it only serves to help us in our vision, which we always said, it is an Arab tournament, first and foremost.
Even if it bites at revenue a little bit.
I think, if you see over the last, decades, we've always looked at the bigger picture. In the end, I think the way we see it, prosperity is through a unified, or let's say a complementary market, plain and simple. That's the way I see it, at least. And we've always seen that this thing will only complement each other. Whatever benefits, for example, people staying, for example, in Saudi experiencing that will only come and benefit us as well down the road, in the long term. So absolutely.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Human rights is something that's been in focus. I know you get questions a lot about this. I was speaking to a colleague of yours earlier today, and I asked him, is there fatigue, a sense of fatigue generally, that there has been all this uproar about human rights, and that fatigue, I wonder, could that be damaging to the need to push further? Because you've always said, no one's perfect. We see more yet to do. So what do you think? How do you overcome?
Well, let me ask you this question first. What do you mean by fatigue? Fatigue from what?
Fatigue from hearing about criticisms, fatigue from being in the press, on the front pages of the UK papers, perhaps.
No, I think the fatigue is not from that. The fatigue is from the fact that I think of misrepresenting facts, or not accurately addressing what is on the ground, or in some places, just plain and simple misstated facts. That is where the fatigue comes from. The fatigue in terms of progressing on human rights, never. I think our commitment towards progress on this is unwavering. It's been there for the last 10, 12 years. Just if you allow me to finish, we've made a lot of progress on this area. I think the progress for the people on the ground, the experts on the ground, has been recognized. Today we are a benchmark in the region when it comes to, for example, dismantling of the kafala system, implementing minimum wage, a non-discriminatory minimum wage system. Within the Supreme Committee today, I'm very proud to say one of our projects, or one of our initiatives, is reimbursement of recruitment fees, where businesses within the community have voluntarily come onto this or joined this scheme and made a commitment of about $28 million, of which $22 million have already been repaid to workers on this recruitment fees. Now, if you compare it globally, I think Apple, since 2008, has been able to achieve about $32 million. Now, these are achievements that are on the ground. I think, and it's continuing. Again, we've always said, this is not a spotlight initiative. This is not an initiative where the spotlight is on us and once it goes, we're going to revert back. This is something that we're committed to. We've been committed to before, and we're going to continue doing this. As I said, the fatigue comes from, unfortunately, misrepresenting facts, and that is, I think, where sometimes you might find frustration. But on the topic itself, never.
Well, there has been some pushback in the business community. I live here, and certainly not every business owner is happy to see legislation that allows people to change jobs freely. But changing jobs freely is a key not only to having a free labor market, but also to being a good employer.
But I think the nature of change, you'll always have people that will resist change. And again, I keep saying this, how many books, and I'm talking probably to the business community to address this, in your MBAs and whatnot, how many books have you looked at which talks about organizational change and how you need to create organizational change and how you need to overcome resistance within organizations when you come to restructuring? And if we address this, if you talk about organizations of 1,500 people, 2,000 people, then when you implement legislation that has social impact, that has economic impact, it has legislative impact, there is no doubt that you will find people that will resist the change. But the fact is, the government has been unwavering in implementing it. We, I think, need to address and find more innovative ways of getting the business people and the business community on board. But if you allow me to again use the example of the $28 million commitment from the business community, this is not something that we imposed on the business community. This is not something that we twisted their arms to do. This is something that they willingly came on and agreed to join. This $28 million comes from the business community to reimburse recruitment fees for workers, which has shifted the burden of proof, which previously happens, I think, in most other nations, from worker to the business community and to the business owners. If that showcases anything, it's that if you create the right environment, people are willing and more committed towards moving forward and doing the right thing.
Yes or no, would it be helpful if the multinational brands who own food chains, hotel chains, if they turn up the screws on some local business owners as well to make sure that they're keeping up with the international buzz?
Just so we're clear, the assumption then means that it's not the big brands that are not committed. I think there's a lot of We've seen a lot of reports where big brands themselves find ways of, or loopholes throughout their business practices. And again, this is not just in Qatar.
No,
We've
not
seen
in
these
Qatar.
reports internationally. And I think this is where I think it's very, very important to focus on. The country, since before the World Cup, has been committed on labor reforms. Since the World Cup acted as a vehicle and as an accelerator, not only on labor reforms, but on a lot of different other issues, infrastructure projects and so on. But labor reforms is where legacy is already being delivered before the tournament. It is something that we've stepped up to. We've engaged with our critics. Today, some of our most ardent critics are our most ardent supporters, and that needs to be recognized. And I think there's merit in recognizing, but more importantly, again, if you look at the ILO, if you look at ITUC, if you look at the trade unions, they all recognize the work that has been done.
Some other human fan experience-y stuff that I know is challenging. Rainbow flags. Okay, they have to be in the stadium. FIFA has said yes, they must be in the stadium. But we heard some from a security official here saying, people who carry rainbow flags could be attacked, therefore we're going to take them away. Are they going to be allowed in the street? And are you going to allow protests generally? Yes or no on that, I think.
Protests?
Yeah.
Protests for what? I mean, I think, this is a tournament for celebration. This is a football tournament.
Yeah, but people always find stuff to protest about, and I think there are a couple issues here, too.
looking for somebody to protest. Is that No, look, I think, again, from day one, we've always said football has a very, very, very powerful ability to bring people together. You see it in many different tournaments. We've experienced it in 2010 in South Africa. The Rainbow Nation getting together. Everybody from the African nation supporting Ghana when it got to the semifinals, the quarterfinals. And the reality is, this tournament, the first World Cup in the Arab world, the first World Cup in the Middle East, it offers us a very unique opportunity for people from different walks of life to be able to come, engage in our common passion, which is football. Celebrate it. Fair enough, it might be celebrating different teams, but if you've ever been to a World Cup, it's always a celebratory event. It's always a festive event. And in there, and getting to know on a human-to-human level, on a person-to-person level, you get to know that, yes, we do come from different walks of life. People have different ways of life, different values, different starting points of values. But it means that we can still be able to celebrate our common humanity and our passion for the game.
So if one fan wants to go out and their way of life is going out with a sign on the street and just standing there, and is that okay?
Every visitor that, again, it's simple. What we say is everybody's welcome, but in appreciating where you're coming from, for us, we have a very rich culture. We ask for people to respect our culture, and I don't think it's much to ask for that. It's as simple as that. You can come, enjoy football, get to know who we are, get to know us on a deeper level, get to know us on go out, celebrate the games, celebrate what's happening on the pitch. And through that, I think there'll be an exchange of cultures, an exchange of backgrounds, and understanding different opinions and different ways of life, and appreciating that, yes, we do have different ways of life, and that is a reality. And it's not something that's unique to Qatar. It's something that's shared with many different people from different parts of the region as well.
One thing that you think has changed.
Oh, thank you. I did not expect that, but thank you very much.
Lastly, and we're running out of time, I just want to know the top thing that you think has changed about Qatar since 2010 when you won the bid.
You think, keeping in mind the events that we've had to go through since 2010, I don't think the World Cup is the only one that's implemented the change. But I think, look, the one thing I will say is this, the last 10 years have been a testimonial and a bright spotlight that kind of showcased our resourcefulness, our resilience, our adherence to our values, and our commitment to progress. And I think more importantly as well, our commitment and recognition of our role to be played in the global community. We recognize that we are part of the global community. We recognize that we have responsibilities towards the global community, but more importantly, I think also rights towards ourselves as well. And I think what the World Cup has been able to showcase is, we've been part of the social discussion and discourse over the last 10 years. What I hope is, by November, people will be able to come, not only experience Qatari hospitality, not only experience Qatari culture, but the Arab world. And what I hope is by the end of it, when people leave, They'll be able to really appreciate and, hopefully bonds be created, stronger bond be created on a human-to-human level, right? I'm not talking, fan-to-fan level.
Right.
I'm not talking about ideologies. I'm not talking about speeches. I'm not talking about big newspaper headlines. I'm talking about the person in Norway being able to pick up the phone and call somebody here to wish them a happy Eid, or somebody in Egypt being able to pick up the phone and call somebody else and wish them Merry Christmas. These bonds that hopefully last and we're able to build upon for the future.
Inclusivity to a degree. Thank you, Hassan. I
Thank you.
appreciate always getting your update.
Thank you.
5 months.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Gianni Infantino, President of FIFA, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Francine Lacroix.
One of a kind because it has the Qatar Economic Forum. We'll talk about the ball. Whose idea was it to put two Italians on stage who will just commiserate about the fact that Italy is not in the World Cup?
Well, you should touch the ball because we will be the only two Italians to touch this ball, which is the official ball of the World Cup.
Talk to me about the ball. So this is what happens. How long does it take to design the ball for each World Cup?
Well, it's actually quite a long process. And by the way, this ball, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a unique ball. It's only
world
one.
exclusive.
I mean, it's the official ball of the World Cup, of course, but it has here written, can you read it? Yes, right? Qatar Economic Forum with the date. So I don't want to see this ball on eBay, just in case somebody gets it here. It's a unique ball, and the name of the ball is Al-Rihla, which is the journey, right? And it is a journey to develop such a ball. It takes years. It's very scientific. It's very secret as well until it is revealed. It was revealed at the draw here at the occasion of the draw here in Doha a couple of months ago, and it's the best ball ever for the best World Cup ever.
Yeah, and the journey not for the ball, but to get to the World Cup here in Qatar is also not without ups and downs. What are you hoping to achieve with this World Cup?
Well, it will be a unique World Cup. It's a unique World Cup because it is a very compact World Cup. It is a World Cup where all 8 stadiums, which are all state-of-the-art, I mean the best stadiums in the world, are all within a perimeter of 50 kilometers or so. So you can watch 2 or 3 games every day. We are expecting between 1.5 and 2 million people visiting Qatar during the World Cup. We're expecting 5 billion people, more than half the world population, tuning in and watching the World Cup. It will be fantastic.
I mean, essentially, it's a one-city World Cup. Are ticket sales, higher than you expected them to be?
Yes, well, ticket sales are very high. I mean, over 23 million ticket requests. Only the final 5 million tickets were requested, only for the final, so we have to have some discussions if we can increase the capacity of the stadium from 80,000 to 5 million. Will be complicated, but we work on that. No, it will be huge. It will be huge. A great interest.
Gianni, can the infrastructure cope? So not the stadium, but everything that's around it, the flights, the airplane. I mean, some of the hotels, the roads.
Well, I think the whole country here, and actually more and more the whole region, is really tuning in for this World Cup. I mean, the stadiums are ready 1 year before. We're ready 1 year before the World Cup, which is unique. I'm now in this business for the last couple of decades. I've never seen such a state of readiness of a big event like here. And we are getting ready now, day by day, more and more, to welcome 2 million people here in Qatar, from the airport to the accommodation to the transportation. Everything is done to make this experience very, very special for all those. I hope you will all be there. I'm sure you will all be there, who will come to Doha and to Qatar for the World Cup.
But are you worried about accommodation? If there's a list of worries, and of course we'll get onto human rights and things like that, but we're also hearing about possible tents being pitched in the city.
Yes, there will be tents as well. There will be camping, or how do you call it, glamping or something? Glamping, right? I never heard this term, but it's great. I mean, I've been as well to see that in Sea Lion in the desert. It's fantastic. It's a desert experience. You come with a few friends. You stay in the desert rather than staying in a hotel. There are beautiful hotels as well. Accommodation is not a worry. Everything is done for there to be enough accommodation ready here, and as well, of course, in the neighboring countries, because let's not forget this is the FIFA World Cup, Qatar 22, but it's as well the World Cup of the whole GCC, of the whole Middle East.
So you've defended the progress that Qatar has made in terms of human rights, I guess especially for this World Cup, but you've also listened to activists that say a lot more needs to be done from now until the World Cup. So how do you track the progress?
Well, from now until the World Cup and thereafter, of course, as well. I think we have realized, and I personally also came along quite a long way, that of course FIFA is a sports organization. We are the football governing body of the world. We organize the World Cup, but football and the World Cup is much more than that. It is not just the greatest show on earth, the biggest event. It has a big social impact. And we at FIFA, we want to be present and shape as well this impact. And of course, and we have to face it, and we faced it. One of my first visit, or my first trip after being elected, the workers, for example, and migrant workers, and we have to admit, and again, it's not me saying it because you could say, well, he's the FIFA president, of course he has to speak positively. It's the International Labour Organization, it's the international trade unions who are independent who say this. You know, a lot of changes have been made. The kafala system has been abolished, which is new in the whole region. Minimum wages have been introduced. Regulations to take care of the heat have been put in place as well, and are respected. So all this progress has been done, probably would have been done anyway, but because of the spotlight of the World Cup and football, it has been done in a record-breaking time. Now, we must make sure that there is not just a text of a legislation, but that it is implemented. And for this reason, I put my tent here in Doha, and I'm kind of living here, and I'm going to every day to see the responsible persons in the government, and we enforce as well all this legislation to make sure that, of course, if somebody violates it, that the rights, the human rights, the workers' rights are protected.
So what you're telling me is that you're comfortable right now with what you're seeing, but you're staying on the ground to make sure that it gets better?
Absolutely, because because progress has to continue, I mean, it took us in Europe hundreds of years to arrive where we are now in terms of the social impact for the people. In this part of the world, and in Qatar in particular, this has been done in a few years. So it's clear that at the beginning, you need some time to assess it and to repair certain things which might not work as they should. So we are here, we work together, and the cooperation is really great. And we want to make sure that this stands as well for after the World Cup.
What can you tell us about the justice system? So there has been concerns that fans would come here, do misdemeanors, or do something which is accepted where they come from, but not in Qatar, and they get arrested for it.
Well, this will not happen. Of course, people will get arrested if they destroy something, if they if they start fighting in the streets, and we don't expect this to happen in World Cups normally. Families come, people come to enjoy, and we are expecting this to happen. But in Qatar in particular, and if we speak also about the LGBT community, everyone will be welcomed. We've received the necessary guarantees. We are training all the officials. We are working hand in hand with the government, with the police authorities. Everyone will be welcomed. If Qatar didn't want to welcome everyone, they wouldn't have organized the World Cup where you welcome the entire world. So I'm sure that, of course, there is noise here and there, and there are critics and criticisms here and there, which is fine. Just asking everyone to look at the facts and to judge us, as you speak as well about justice, on the results of what we are going to do. But everyone is welcome here.
How do you see football changing in the next 5 years and decade?
Well, football is, of course, already today a very, very big industry globally, over $200 billion gross output. So it's almost similar to a medium-sized country, right? And football has this special element of the emotional bond that means so much to so many people all over the world. Our vision in FIFA is to make football truly global, and that's why we welcome as well the fact that the World Cup is played for the first time in an Arab country, in the Arab world. We organized the FIFA Arab Cup as a test event for the World Cup last December. It was a huge, huge success. 450 million Arabs celebrated. They blocked the Champs-Élysées in Paris to celebrate the victories in the Arab Cup. And people who will come here, they will witness as well and learn to know a new culture and new history. And football is becoming more and more global. We are in an economic forum, so we speak about global investments as well.
And I was asking about streaming maybe as well. Do you think that will change with the arrival of Netflix and Apple in the sports world?
Definitely it will change. I mean, Netflix, Apple in the United States. We at FIFA, we created recently FIFA Plus, which I invite everyone to discover, which is a great streaming platform as well, where we broadcast, besides documentaries and other things, also 40,000 games a year of maybe minor competitions, minor leagues around the world, but to give them the platform, because with globalization, with people of every nationality everywhere in the world, I think it is important to have this unique bond. And let's not forget that if you look at the Men's World Cup, there are 4 to 5 billion people watching it, right? More than half the world. The Women's World Cup, the last Women's World Cup in France, we had 1.2 billion people watching that. So people around the world love football. Football is here to not only to stay, but to grow, and to grow globally, not just in a couple of countries in some parts of the world.
I have a couple of questions from the audience, so thank you so much for sending them. This person's writing, in your opinion, will organizing the 2022 World Cup have a positive impact on Qatar's economy with ticket sales?
Well, it will have a positive impact on Qatar's economy, definitely with ticket sales, in the sense that there will be, as I said, 1.5 to 2 million people coming to Qatar, discovering Qatar, many of them for the first time. I mean, the country will double in size for the time of the World. It will be a celebration. The whole Corniche will be a fan festival with fans from all over the world. So the whole tourism sector will benefit in Qatar, and again, in the whole region as well.
Do you think it will change the way you perceive who can have a World Cup, even smaller, much smaller countries?
It does change the way in which people perceive who can stage the World Cup. It will change as well. Well, the next World Cup will be in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, so it's kind of huge territory, 500 million people. But football has to be global, and we want to stage a World Cup everywhere in every country around the world.
Yeah. To, of course, help some of the players, especially with social media hate. I know you've put best practices in place. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, we've been analyzing social media abuse on players in recent events, and we've seen that in the last main competitions, over 50% of the players, it's huge, have been abused.
Has it gotten worse?
It has got much worse. It has got much worse, and it is becoming discriminatory and racist as well. And we need to stop that. So we elaborated a system together with the Players' Union, which we will implement during the World Cup, where we will track everyone who writes and insults a player on the social media, and we block that.
Gianni, under your leadership, do you think FIFA has reformed?
I think FIFA has reformed. FIFA went through a big crisis before I joined FIFA and at the beginning. We put in place new governance systems, strong governance systems. So strong that the United States Department of Justice recently decided to award to FIFA, in a remission fund, $201 million, which were seized from corrupt officials of FIFA. So they recognized, the United States Department of Justice recognized that FIFA has been a victim of some people and has awarded us this huge amount that we are reinvesting in the development of the game. Today, everything is open, is transparent. Every dollar that comes in is tracked, and every dollar that goes out is tracked as well. And it goes into football.
32 teams have qualified. I'm going to ask you your prediction of who's going to win the World Cup. And also, I mean, you have amazing players. Do you have a favorite player?
For this World Cup?
Yeah.
I should look. My team is the referees' team, right? I hope that the referees are doing well, because then my life is much easier. But we have a great referees team. No, we'll have 32 great teams. I mean, the top players, the Ronaldos, Messis, Mbappe, of Neymar, of this world, they will all be part of this World Cup. And the fact that this World Cup will be played in November, December, which is at the beginning or at the peak of their fitness, of their season, and not at the end in June where they arrive exhausted, will make sure that we'll not just have the best World Cup ever in terms of fan experience, but also the best World Cup ever in terms of performance on the pitch.
In all the offices around the world, we have sweepstakes, right? I'm sure all of you have sweepstakes. We do at Bloomberg. Do you have a sweepstake at FIFA to try and see who will win the World Cup?
Sure.
And your team?
Italy, but you know, that is done already.
Done.
That is done already. So
Gianni,
now we can enjoy good football.
Gianni, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone, just a couple more words here, please. Congrats on who got the ball there. Well done. That was a great catch. We're at the close of the 2022 edition of the Qatar Economic Forum. We really hope that you've enjoyed participating. We'd like to thank all of you for being here at this very significant event. We'd like to take a moment as well to thank our underwriters, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the State of Qatar. Thank you. The Qatar Investment Authority, Invest Qatar, I know where you're from, and the Qatar Financial Center. Our country hosts who've been amazing, Media City Qatar, and our presenting sponsor, Q Invest. It has been a, let's say, pretty intensive 2 days of discussions and debates. If you want to watch any of our sessions again, please visit the Qatar Economic Forum YouTube channel, okay? And as we head back to our respective homes, I trust that we will take with us what we have learned here, and we will help build a brighter and more sustainable future for our people and our planet. Asante sana in Kiswahili. Thank you.